Good evening and welcome back to PJTN Online. I'm your host, Laurie Cardoza-Moore, and I want to welcome you here this evening. If this is your first time joining us, we welcome you here and we're looking forward to having a great discussion. I want to encourage you also, for those of you who are tuning in and have been watching this program for the last 7 weeks, I believe we're on 7 now. I just want to remind you all that if you have questions or comments throughout the program, please send us your questions or feedback or comments if you want to share. I would love to get to those. This is an opportunity for us to have a conversation. The mission of our organization, Proclaiming Justice to the Nations, is to educate Christians about their biblical responsibility to stand with our Jewish brethren and defend the state of Israel against the rise of anti-Semitism. And for those of you who have been a part of PJTN, you know that we have been at the forefront focusing on this issue, producing award-winning documentary films and programs, our Focus on Israel show, that are aired all over the globe. We are now, with our 20th media partner this year, reaching 2.6 billion viewers. So we hope that you're tuning in, and if you're not, you can catch our Focus on Israel show. It's a weekly program on Daystar TV, and it airs every Sunday night at 11 p.m. Central Time, 9 p.m. Pacific Time. So we hope that you'll tune in, and we'd love to hear your feedback. Send us an email at comments@pjtn.org. So tonight our focus tonight is going to be on a couple of trips that I made this week, actually. One to Newton, Massachusetts, where parents and citizens gathered together to host a rally to let their school board and their superintendent know that they are not going to tolerate the indoctrination of our children. As we were in Newton, Massachusetts, I was impressed with the parents and the citizens who showed up on Monday night for this rally. And of course, I was invited to come and be a speaker, one of the keynote speakers at the rally, with a local radio talk show host. We did a radio interview in the local community. And as you know, media is the most important tool that we can use to get our message out. Yes, we don't have the support of the mainstream media, but we use alternative. And we do have conservative media. We also have Christian media to get our message out. This month marks the 70th anniversary of the historic Declaration of the State of Israel. God's sovereign hand can be seen all over this land. Included in the celebrations is the opening of the American Embassy right here in Jerusalem. In honor of this celebration, PJTN is offering a special 70th anniversary package, which includes a captivating new book and an award-winning DVD. Israel Rising is a unique visual story of Israel's miraculous journey from unforgiving desert to thriving nation. Thousands of years ago, the prophet Ezekiel foretold a future time in which the arid land of Israel would come alive for its people. Now this breathtaking book documents the fulfillment of this vision, as rarely seen photographs from the 1880s to the 1940s are juxtaposed with recent photos of the same locations. This book will inspire and captivate you as it illuminates Israel's foretold awakening in a new and unforgettable way. In addition, you'll receive the award-winning documentary, Israel Indivisible: The Case for the Ancient Homeland. This inspiring film examines the many political twists and turns that make Israel the world's most controversial nation. From Abraham and the Promise to the issues facing the Jewish state today, the film examines the historical, archaeological, legal, and biblical foundations for the modern state of Israel. This is a limited time offer for these two remarkable resources for just a one-time gift of $70 today. Your generous donation will help ensure that PJTN stays on the front lines and in the headlines of all the important issues facing Israel and our Jewish brethren. So please go to pjtn.org today. I want to go ahead and move into updating you on our campaign to expose the indoctrination of our children in our textbooks. And that's really what we're going to talk about this evening. And again, I want to remind you, you can go, if you're watching us for the first time on PJTN Online on Facebook, I want to encourage you to go to our website at pjtn.org, sign up to get on our mailing list. We're also looking for PJTN Watchmen to enlist PJTN Watchmen to become a monthly partner with us so that we can take our programs to our 2.6 billion viewers through all of our 20 media partners so that we can educate Christians around the globe to stand against anti-Semitism. From studying history, it's very clear that what starts with the Jews never ends only with the Jews. We must strongly stand against any anti-Semitic trends, for if not stopped, they'll cause harm to all of us, and we'll witness the downfall of our Judeo-Christian Western culture. Today, many people say there's no longer a need for a Jewish state, that Jews around the world no longer need a place of refuge. But anyone who has heard recent statistics about the worldwide rise in anti-Semitism would never make such a claim. The reality is that neo-Nazi groups and Nazi sympathizers are increasing around the world. Surveys show that over 1 billion people in the world harbor anti-Semitic attitudes. Close to 50% believe that Jews have too much power in the business world, and 2/3 of the world's population has never heard of the Holocaust or believe the historic accounts of it are inaccurate. If there's one thing history has taught the Jewish people, a place they can go in time of need is essential, and Israel fulfills that role. But the need for a Jewish state is not limited to being only a refuge for Jews. Jewish tradition in Israel grants full rights for women and people of all races, faiths, and gender. This tradition is what often makes Israel among the first countries to send doctors and field hospitals to any place where a natural disaster occurs, utilizing their medical advances to save lives worldwide. Muslims, Christians, and people of every faith, or those of no faith, have the freedom to worship or not worship as they choose. For Muslims, the Jewish state goes out of its way to provide this freedom. For example, every Israeli university gives students the option of deferring their exams during the month of Ramadan. The Knesset calls off all sessions at sunset during Ramadan to ensure that Muslim Knesset members can break their fasts with the traditional iftar dinner. In an open and democratic manner, opportunities for education, advancement, and careers exist for all citizens in the Jewish state. Sadly, such rights and opportunities do not exist in any of the Muslim Arab states. For example, in neighboring Jordan, Jews cannot become citizens. And in Saudi Arabia, no non-Muslim can become a citizen. Saying that Israel must cease to exist as a Jewish state while accepting that other countries define themselves as Muslim is pure hypocrisy. In most of these countries, no rights exist for non-Muslims, women, and the LGBT community. Don't let yourself be manipulated by evil people with a wicked agenda. When the self-serving villains are in control, good people from all religions suffer. Muslims, Christians, and all people of conscience should stand proudly and show respect for a country that gives so much to the world in so many ways. Do your part, do your research, and do what you can to make a difference. Because what happens in Israel does affect us all. This is not just a Jewish or just an Israeli problem. This is a problem for all humanity, for each and every one of us who believe in freedom and human rights. Learn more about what you can do at pjtn.org. When we were at the rally in Newton, Massachusetts, I will tell you that there was over 500 people in attendance. In fact, I was shocked when I pulled up because when I attend rallies, even here in Tennessee, initially we packed one of the school board rooms in Williamson County with parents and citizens who were outraged once we informed the community of what their children were being taught. But to see that many people show up, and it happened to be a very cold night. It was, I think, 30 degrees when we were standing out there. People had their flashlights. They came all bundled up. They were prepared. They were serving hot chocolate and donuts and cookies for everybody who decided to come out. But to see this many people engage and make placards letting their school district know that they are not going to tolerate the indoctrinating of their children.
We'd like everybody to give a very warm welcome to the Massachusetts Patriots, Boston's bulldozer. Boston's bulldozer. And who is Boston's bulldozer? I can't hear you. One more time. Jeff Cooner.
I want to thank all of you so much for coming up tonight. I know it's a bit chilly, not as chilly as it could be, but you're here and I really appreciate it. I want to thank Diana for inviting me. I want to thank Margot, who is absolutely incredible. Is she incredible or what? She was calling the station and, you know, with Brittany and Jared saying, we got to do something about Newton. We got to do something about Newton. And here we are. So I just want to say this to all of you. I've got a column that I'm going to be publishing, actually probably tonight, most likely tomorrow morning, on this very issue. It's going to be up on wrko.com/Cooner, Kuhner. We're already sending it to Tucker Carlson, to Sean Hannity, to Fox News, because they need to know what is going on here. And let me tell you, what is going on here is an absolute tragedy. It is a travesty of justice, and I never thought I'd be speaking to you about this issue in the United States of America. And so I want to ask all of you, how many Palestinian terrorists does it take to change a light bulb? Take a guess. Take a guess. None. Because David Fleischman and Ruth Goldman will change it for them. I mean, no, really, I gotta tell you, the more I began to dig into this story, I started to honestly ask myself, is this Newton, Massachusetts, or is this the West Bank and Gaza? I mean, really, this is the stuff that is now going on by these some of these Newton educators behind closed doors with American students. And in particular, what they are doing, and I'm choosing my words very carefully now, and I lay this out in my column, is they are indoctrinating or trying to indoctrinate and brainwash 14 and 15-year-old kids. These are 9th and 10th graders.
Not in my backyard.
You got it, buddy. Not in our backyard. In world history, they are Jew-baiting. They are claiming that Israel is an apartheid state founded upon mass murder and genocide. They stand there and openly whitewash the crimes of Hamas, of Hezbollah, of Palestinian terrorists and Islamic terrorists all over the Middle East. And then when you, the hardworking taxpayers of Newton, of Massachusetts, who, let me be candid with you, you pay for this school, you pay salaries, when you simply want to know your God-given right to what these teachers are teaching your kids. They're telling you it's none of your business? Hey, I got a memo for David Fleischman. These people here and the people of Newton, they don't work for you. You work for them. And my friends, let me tell you one of the many things that I found absolutely shocking of what has been going on in Newton North High and Newton South High over the last couple of years.
Even more.
Even more. It's been, I know that. It's been going back a long time, but at least the last 10 years. You need to know this. They are inviting people to speak to students, 140 students. Noam Chomsky, an avowed Jew hater.
Self-hating Jew.
A self-hating Jew, yes. An avowed hater of Israel. A man, I kid you not, don't take my word for it, look it up, is a friend of Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, the very terrorist group that was behind the massacre of 241 U.S. Marines in Beirut, in Lebanon, in 1983. And that is one of Chomsky's close friends and supporters. And they invite him to these schools to talk to our kids about how evil Israel is, how evil America is, how evil the West is. This to me is literally, it is a tragedy and a scandal of the highest order. Yes. And then you look at the curriculum, the Outreach Center for Harvard University, where I swear to you, God is my witness. God is my witness. They use their information from anti-Semitic fringe websites that talk about how the Jews run America, the Jews run Hollywood, the Jews run Wall Street. Like I said on my show today, I don't know, maybe they're running me.
No way.
I mean, they're everywhere. I mean, maybe Brittany's a secret Jew. Maybe Jared's a secret Jew. I mean, this is the stuff they're peddling in there. And they stand there and they whitewash the crimes of Islamic terrorists. And in particular, because you need to know this, this is what they're trying to teach your students behind closed doors. That Islam, listen to this. This one I said, this is a new one. This, I swear to you, even the Muslim mosques in Saudi Arabia and in Gaza don't teach this. That Islam lifted the rights of women. No, really. That it's a feminist religion. That I swear, it empowers women and minorities. This is what they're teaching these kids. That it's the religion of peace. That there's no such thing as jihad. So let me get this straight. When Yasser Arafat was yelling in front of his rabid supporters, jihad, 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 kill a Jew, kill a Jew, kill a Jew, he was saying, don't drink. He was saying, yeah, hey, on the pornography, guys, take it easy there, guys. This is the stuff, it is literally mind-blowing what is going on here. And look, it is time now that we speak truth to power. Yes. And you need to know this, and I think now the world needs to know this. Islam, with all due respect to David Fleischman and Ruth Goldman and everybody else peddling their anti-Semitic, anti-American propaganda, Islam is not a religion of peace. Right. Yep. It's not.
You're right.
Amen.
Yeah, you're right.
And this is Encyclopedia Britannica stuff. This is not, I don't have to cite to you an author. Prophet Muhammad himself had multiple wives, including child brides. Prophet Muhammad waged military campaign after military campaign, religiously cleansing the Arabian Peninsula. Prophet Muhammad actually said, the only way Islam will spread is by the sword. There is nothing peaceful about Islam.
That's right. That's right.
And this is why, for 1,000 years, they conquered the Middle East. They conquered North Africa. Then they went into Spain, into Portugal, into France, into Italy, into the Balkans, into Poland, literally to the gates of Vienna. This has been the history of Islam from its inception. So the question I have for David Fleischman and Ruth Goldman is, where's the peace? I don't see the peace. And even today, who are we kidding? When the Twin Towers came down, a day that I will never forget, let me tell you in the Washington Times newsroom what I saw, and the American media refused all of you to see. On the CBC, back in my old homeland in Canada, they were showing pictures of Palestinians on the streets of the West Bank and Gaza, dancing and laughing, crying with tears of joy that the Twin Towers came down. So my question to Fleischman and Goldman is, are you teaching that in the schools?
That's right.
Because I'll bet you're not.
You're right.
My friends, what is going on here is a struggle for the hearts and minds of our youth. And what they are trying to do is they are trying to indoctrinate and brainwash our children into whitewashing the crimes of radical Islam, but more than that, to peddle anti-Semitism and Jew hatred in our schools. That's what they're doing. And look, I gotta tell you, and this may be politically incorrect, and forgive me if I'm saying this.
Go ahead.
But when I was doing the show today and I did my segment on this, the lines lit up like a Christmas tree.
Wonderful.
Every caller, because you know, Brittany and Jared, they write the comments on the board. Every caller was, isn't Fleischman Jewish? Isn't Goldman, I'm serious, isn't Goldman Jewish? They're like, what the hell is going on in Newton?
What is up?
Well, I'll tell you, I'll say it here, what I said on the air. They are self-hating Jews.
Yes.
They're ashamed of their Jewishness.
Yes.
They're ashamed of their Jewish heritage
Yes.
and of their Jewish culture.
Yes.
And my question to them is this. Did the Holocaust not teach you anything?
No.
Did you not see what happened to the Jews the last time they were silent?
No.
When murderous anti-Semites are allowed to run wild? And you stand here and are allowing the same thing to insinuate yourselves and itself, this anti-Semitic ideology into our schools? Shame on you. Shame on you. My friends, it is time for David Fleischman to be fired. It is time for Ruth Goldman to step down as the chair of the committee. If she's not able to do her job, let's get somebody who will. And I've got to ask this question. I asked it in my column, and I'm going to ask it now again. Where the hell is the mayor of Newton, Mayor Ruth Ann Fuller? This is happening right underneath her nose. Why is she not holding these people accountable? It is time that people get fired. It is time that heads roll. And it's time that you, the parents, the taxpayers of Newton and Massachusetts, take our schools back. So, my friends, I want you to know I am not going to give up on this, I promise. I'm going to push this as hard as possible because this is a national scandal. And what I want all of you to know is this. If this is happening in Newton, I guarantee you, God is my witness, it is happening in public school and in public school after public school, all across Massachusetts, all across New England, all across America. The Italians have a great saying, the fish rots from the head down.
Right.
It's time now that we cut off the head of the fish and say enough is enough. Now, if you want to preach that Jews are evil, that America is the great Satan, that Islam is the greatest gift the world has ever, that Muhammad and Muhammad and Allah ever bequeathed to the people of the world, that's fine. That's fine.
Boston Common.
Go to the West Bank and Gaza. But the last time I checked, Newton is not the West Bank and Gaza, at least not yet. We don't want this kind of hatred and intolerance in our communities. So let me just end by saying this. I think it's very providential that I am here today to speak to all of you, and I'll tell you why. Because on Saturday, I had the good fortune of having dinner. She kept pressing, I want to meet you, Jeff, I want to meet you, Jeff. And so finally, my wife and I sat down with this poor woman. She is a professor here in Massachusetts. I will not give out the college to protect her identity. But she is a Lebanese Christian. She came to the United States in the late 1970s. She was born and raised in Lebanon. And I told her that I'd be coming here to speak to you, the great residents of Newton. And let me tell you what she told me to tell you. She said Lebanon used to be majority Christian, that she had a big family, that for her, she never thought life would be better than to be with her brothers and sisters in our small town 15 miles north of Beirut. But then Palestinian refugees began to pour into Lebanon. They poured by the hundreds of thousands. Refugee camps were set up. The government, the Christians of Lebanon, let them in. They welcomed them with open arms. She says one night in 1976, in her village, 100% Christian, they suddenly heard, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. Palestinian terrorists from the PLO had infiltrated her village. And they heard in the dark of the night, bullets flying. And the bullets came closer and closer and closer. And so her family and her aunt who lived next door, they all huddled in her house in fear. And then the gunmen broke into their home. There was about 25 of them in the house. And then they could hear the shots ring out. And she said they kicked the door down in our bedroom. And the Palestinian terrorists again were screaming out, Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar, Allah is great. And they started to shoot. And she said, to my left, my 10-year-old sister dropped dead. To my right, my 12-year-old brother, Pierre, dropped dead. My mother dropped dead. Members of my family dropped dead. And then I was shot in the jaw, and they blew my entire jaw off. And I lay on the ground, blood everywhere. I could barely breathe. She thought I was gonna be choked in my own blood. And I said to her, her name is Mona. I said, Mona, what did they say to you as they were shooting, massacring your whole family? She said, one of the gunmen in Arabic said to the other Palestinian PLO terrorist, it's a pity we have to kill the children. And the one who shot her in the jaw said, well, they're going to grow up to become the infidel, so we better kill them now. She managed to pull herself out of the pile of bodies. She got herself to a hospital. She said America took her in. For 4 years, they had to do reconstructive surgery on her face. To this day, her face is permanently maimed. It's crippled. You can see it on her. She says they took away almost her entire family. She wants me to tell all of you this story, and she wants me to tell you this message. We in Lebanon, the Christians, we let the Muslims in, and they massacred us and shot us and killed us in our own homes. And now we're going to be allowing unvetted Muslim migrants from Syria and Iraq, and God knows from where, to come into our country, into our communities, into our schools, into our neighborhoods. She says she wants all of you to know this. I know that radical Islam is a mortal threat, not because I've read newspapers, because I lived it. I paid for it. And she's warning you and warning all of us that if we don't take a stand, what happened to Lebanon is going to happen here.
Right.
And so what I want you to know is what the Palestinians are teaching in their schools and what the Saudis are teaching in their mosques and in their madrasas all over the Middle East and now here in North America is taking place right in there. This is ground zero in the fight for our country. And that's why we are here to tell David Fleischman and Ruth Goldman, you can hide as long as you want, but eventually you're going to have to answer to us. And we will not allow radical Islamic extremism and anti-Semitism to take root in our United States of America. Because here we have one call and one call only. America, love it or leave it. So together, let's drive the moonbacks really crazy tonight, okay? Let's give them a mini heart attack. This is for Fleischman and Ruth Goldman. Let's go together. USA, 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 USA.
I don't see any members of the delegation. delegation leaving this time?
Be careful. Be very careful. Oh my God, you're patriot. Be very careful. They may call the police on us. Be very careful. Patriotism is a thought crime. Okay.
How John Kerry last week said, stay away from the negotiation table.
Yes, well, John Kerry, Jean-Francois, poor guy thinks he's going to run at the age of 80. Leave him alone. Leave him alone. Okay, my friends, look, there's a lot of other speakers, and I want them to talk, but I want to thank all of you from the bottom of my heart for supporting me, but most importantly, for being here tonight. And to me, the person of the hour, as far as I'm concerned, 94 years old.
94 years young.
94 years young. I said this to her when I met her. You look better than I do, for God's sakes. What's your secret?
Margot for Congress.
Margot, you all know her. Let's give her a big welcome.
So Margot wanted to wait to do the Pledge of Allegiance right now. So everybody, we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance together. Okay? The flag is right up there. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So you want to talk about this? You got it? Jeff, you are absolutely superb. You're a genius. And a compliment from you is a compliment indeed. Thank you, Newton citizens. Thank all of you who have come from New Hampshire, Rhode Island, all across the state of Massachusetts, and Cooner Country. Yay! To be here tonight, to brave the cold on Lincoln's birthday. Honest Abe. Thank you, Orna. Thank you, Diana and Yvonne. This rally, from beginning to end, every detail, the flyers, the press, everything was organized, planned, and run by concerned Newton citizens. Well, Jeff did a great chant. Let's do another one, okay? I'm going to say the first 2 lines, the only 2 lines, and after I say them, we'll all say them together, okay? Here we go. 2, 4, 6, 8. Don't let schools indoctrinate. Are you ready? 6, 8. Don't let schools indoctrinate. 2, 4, 6, 8. Don't let schools indoctrinate. 2, 4, 6, 8. Don't let schools indoctrinate. Do I give it back to you? Take it away, Jeff. Take it away, Jeff.
Okay, I believe we have another wonderful speaker coming up. Nice to see you. How are you? No, sorry. How do you pronounce your wonderful last name? Cardoza. Cardoza Moore. Correct. Okay. So, and your title?
I'm president of PJTN.
Okay. She is the president of PJTN, Lori Cardoza Moore. I've heard great things about her. I cannot wait to listen to her speech because I hear it's going to be an absolute wall banger. So please, let's give her a really warm welcome.
All right, can everybody hear me? Oh my gosh. I am, first of all, I have to tell you all, I am shocked and I'm amazed. I'm coming from Tennessee. Okay, we're from Franklin, Tennessee, just south of Nashville. And I can't tell you, I want to cry looking at all of you. We've been fighting this battle, not just in Tennessee with regards to the textbooks, but we've been fighting the battle all over the country. And I want to tell you, there are more who are with us than are against us. There are more parents and citizens just like yourselves who are taking on the textbook issue with their school board, with their superintendent of schools. I want to just share with you real quick what happened in Tennessee, because I think it's important as it relates to what you're experiencing here, because you are not fighting this battle alone, even though everyone has to fight their own battle in their own community. We had a parent in Williamson County who came to our organization and said to me, this is a woman who supported us. She said, "You'll never believe what we're teaching our children in Williamson County schools." Williamson County is one of the top 10 most conservative, evangelical, Christian, Republican, wealthiest counties in the country. She brought me a textbook, a Pearson Human Geography history book. The textbook had a quote that legitimized Palestinians blowing themselves up in a Jerusalem restaurant because they were waging a war against Israeli government policies and army actions. She not only brought me that, she brought me instructional materials with sources that were cited, that were not there. The sources that they cited were organizations like the PLO. There were no Israel, the Ministry of Strategy, or there's no American sources cited. This was all propaganda. We ended up taking on that textbook and bringing it to our school board and demanding that the textbook be removed. And we got the same stonewalling response that you have received in this community. We ended up taking on the school board, and we told them one night when they were voting to remove the textbook that if you do not remove this textbook from this school, it does not reflect the values of our community, we will remove you from office. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? That was an election year. We worked from April to August. We raised up grassroots citizens just like people here. They ran for office, they ran for school board, and I will tell you that we replaced every one of the school board members who were up for re-election. But it didn't stop there, it got better. We scared the heebie-jeebies out of the state legislature, because they saw what one group of parents could do, mobilize to action, what one community could do in removing all those elected officials, and they were afraid that we were coming after them next. They were holding hearings. Ladies and gentlemen, as a result of what we did, just one community like yours, we changed the laws in Tennessee with regards to how textbooks are adopted and approved in our state. That is a model for other states. But I want to tell you, the content that you find in the textbooks, they're not just anti-Semitic. As we researched, just like you did, they were anti-Judeo-Christian, anti-American, anti-West, and anti-Israel, and they were pro-Islamic. Ladies and gentlemen, these textbooks violate the U.S. Constitution and our state constitutions, because these textbooks are favoring the establishment of one religion over all others. We have had teachers tell students, when students asked, well, when are we going to start teaching on Christianity? You know about Christianity. We don't need to teach that. These kids, there was a third grader, a little girl who came home with her spelling test. Guess what one of the words on the spelling test was? Shahada. Shahada, a third grader. The mother called the school, talked to the teacher and said, why is this word on my child's spelling test? What does that have to do with America? This is happening in communities all over the country. And ladies and gentlemen, when I was here a year and a half ago, I had a retired military lieutenant colonel who is now an advisor to the Joint Chiefs of Staff call me. He couldn't come to my meeting where I was speaking at one of the local synagogues. And he said to me, he said, I want you to do me a favor. Everywhere you go, this is a consultant on terrorism to the Joint Chiefs. He said, everywhere you go across the country, please tell the people that this is the strategy, that what you're laying out is the strategy to take back our communities. He said, because the enemy will not fight us on a field. They know they can't win. And the strategy, ladies and gentlemen, is we all have to fight this battle in our local community. If any of you know the book of Nehemiah, Nehemiah was given a specific role to go back to the city of Jerusalem to assess the damage and rebuild the walls. When he came back after assessing the damage, he recruited the leaders of districts in front of sections of the wall, and he recruited the people who lived in front of other sections of the wall, and he told them, build the wall. They laid bricks with one hand and they fought with another. And ladies and gentlemen, in record time, they rebuilt the walls. And we have to think of that as a model, because the Lord said, tell the people, their county, their school district is one section of the wall. If we can get communities, counties, cities next to us, parents and citizens who have a vested interest to rebuild their walls, we can take back this country in record time. Because I'm going to leave you with a statement. How many of you have gotten to see The Darkest Hour? Winston Churchill. Yeah. I'm going to leave you with a quote to inspire you, because you have inspired me tonight. Winston Churchill once said, there comes a special moment in everyone's life, a moment for which that person was born. That special opportunity, when he seizes it, will fulfill his mission, a mission for which he is uniquely qualified. In that moment, he finds greatness. It is his finest hour. Ladies and gentlemen, you're not here because of happenstance. It's not a coincidence. We're all standing together here tonight because God thought of us, He uniquely gifted us, and He brought us all together for this purpose, for such a time as this. We're getting ready to celebrate Purim. Amen. We have all been called. This is a hard, long battle. But ladies and gentlemen, we didn't get here overnight. It's not gonna be resolved overnight. But we must unite together as a community and stand together as Americans. Our country is at stake. We have a window of time. Trump is trying to drain the swamp in D.C., but we've got limited time to rebuild our communities, and it starts now. I want to just pray a blessing upon every one of you for having the courage to speak up, for taking the time. There are so many people I hear who tell me, I don't have time. There is too much at stake. We as Americans have a responsibility to hand the next generation a constitutional republic that is intact. Yes. Our constitutional republic is being shredded by leaders like Obama, and of course leaders like these school board members and these superintendents who are propagandizing our children. Lord God, I just pray for favor upon these people and your blessing upon them as they do the work you command us. Justice, justice, thou must pursue. God bless you all. Newton, Massachusetts, I'm honored to be here tonight with you.
Amen. Amen. Lori, great job, huh? Did I tell you it's going to be a barn burner, or is that a barn burner? You know, Trump is going to do everything in his power to drain the swamp in Washington. We got to drain the swamp here in Newton. And the next speaker is my distinct honor and privilege to introduce him. I've had him on my show several times. He is one of the bravest, most patriotic, and one of the most learned men I've ever encountered. He actually, is this possible? You flew here from Africa? You flew here from Africa.
I was in Africa, yeah.
You were in Africa. The guy came from Africa to be here. Huh? Huh? Look at that. Look at that. Let's give a big, warm welcome to the president of Americans for Peace and Tolerance, the one and only Charles Jacobs.
Everybody awake?
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. I want to thank some people. Margot, whoever would have thought that your army was this big? You know, Margot doesn't have, imagine if Margot had a computer. There'd be 100,000 people here. So I want to thank some people. The Russian Jews are here. Jeff, if you want to know about good Jews, the Russian Jews are here. And Act for America is here. Thank God. And the Israeli Americans are here. So we're building a big, big coalition to win. Jeff, the last time we did a protest together was at the State House. It was against Obama's disastrous nuclear deal. We were right about that. Iran's drones paid for by Obama just attacked Israel. And we're right about this one too, Jeff. In Newton schools, we're bombarded with Islamic propaganda. So-called educational materials produced or financed by Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the PLO are being taught in Newton schools. All under the watchful eyes of school superintendent David Fleischman, who gets paid $300,000 a year to lead the education of our children, who is the highest paid employee of Newton. He's been at the job since 2010, but he's been promoting indoctrination, not education. Indoctrination that poisons young minds with lies and allows hatred and divisiveness to be spread in the schools. He lies to the students, and he lies to their parents, the citizens of Newton who pay his salary. He even lies by plagiarizing speeches. Just ask Deval Patrick. David Fleischman permitted Newton high school teachers to be trained by a rabid Israel hater. Imagine, Newton school teachers were instructed by someone who led a campaign to boycott Israel in Somerville. Fleischman let students be taught a blood libel, that Jews in Israel murder Palestinian women in jail rooms, a slanderous lie. He let his teachers give out a false copy of the Hamas Charter, so students wouldn't see the real Hamas Charter, which calls for the religious murder of every Jew on the planet. All this to make the Israelis seem stiff-necked and unreasonable Jews. Fabricator Fleischman, that's a good one. Fabricator Fleischman let the teachers present false maps to the students, maps that were created by the PLO, maps that dishonestly represent the image of a fictional Palestinian state. The maps lie and Fleischman lies, because he didn't tell the students that the maps were PLO maps, so the students thought they were real. Even MSNBC had to apologize for using these fictional maps, but the Newton superintendent did not have the decency to apologize. For shame. When community members and parents asked him to get rid of the poison, he stonewalled us, and he lied to our faces in school committee meeting after school committee meeting. He used an excuse that Joseph Goebbels would have been proud of. He said that presenting students with the lie that Jews kill Arab women in jail was really only an exercise in critical thinking. Tell me, friends, why does David Fleischman let teachers in Newton whitewash Islam? Dishonest David has the kids in Newton learn that jihad, holy war, actually refers only to a Muslim's personal efforts at self-improvement. That's what the kids in Newton are learning. Imagine. You know, or you should know, that we're led by a 96-year-old, 94-year-old, indefatigable warrior lady, Margot Einstein, who pestered and pestered the lazy, cowardly Jewish leaders here to act. But there's something you don't know. I'm going to break some news tonight. I have a letter in my hand written by the Jewish ADL. They secretly met with Fleischman. And you know what happened? let me read a paragraph. We were pleased to learn that this was written by the ADL to Fleischman. We were pleased to learn that you made the determination prior to the 2016 school year that the Middle East curriculum should be changed, and that therefore the materials and subject were not part of the world history class during the last school year. We understand from our meeting that until a new curriculum is developed, this subject and the previously used materials will not be taught in world history, unquote. You know what that means? It means, if it's true and if he's not lying like he always does, that we won something big. That because of Margot and all of us and all of you, Fleischman, if he's telling the truth, relented. All, however, was done in secret. All was done in the dark, so he wouldn't have to admit we were right. But we were right. That's why, more than ever, he needs to go. And we need transparency. We need them to show us what they're teaching our kids.
Yes!
They are still teaching about how absolutely wonderful Islam is compared to the imperialist Judeo-Christian West. There are leaders and organizations that prefer darkness, that prefer to exclude the parents and community members from knowing what's being taught in our school. But these are our schools, not David Fleischman's, not the teachers union, and not these fake activists like Mass Peace Action who only want to perpetuate the teaching of lies against Israel and the privileging of Islam. They are morally confused people, deeply confused. How can any decent person oppose openness and transparency, especially when it comes to our children? These are not decent people. They prefer secrecy because they support the political agenda of the superintendent, because they believe that the children belong to the state, not their parents, because they are arrogant control freaks who believe they know better what is good for our children. We demand school leadership that respects parents, that respects the students, that respects the truth. We demand transparency. We need new leadership. David Fleischman must go. Thank you.
Great job, Charles. Great job. $300,000 a year. You know, hell, I could be the superintendent of youth for $300,000 a year. That's not bad, huh? Okay, my friends, our next speaker is my distinct honor and privilege. She is a mother. Her name is Judy Elovitz Greenberg. She is the mother of several children who have attended Newton schools. And she's here to share her experience of what her children underwent and what Fleischman allowed to take place in the classroom. So please, let's give a big warm welcome to Judy.
Yay! Yay, Judy! God bless you. I am a graduate myself of Newton South High School, and I got 3 kids through Newton South High School, and I've lived in Newton for over half a century. I have lived in Newton for over half a century. I'm not going to put up with this. They're poisoning our kids. How do we shape the future? By changing the textbooks, by poisoning the textbooks. Come on, teach our kids the truth.
That's right.
How are they going to be able to, unfortunately they can lead, how are they going to be able to be responsible leaders, to lead us to the truth, to lead us to the future that we deserve, that we have worked for, when they're being fed baloney, when they're being fed maps of Palestine with no Israel there?
Where's Palestine? No such thing as Palestine.
Exactly. Oh, really? That's not what they learned there. Last year they took there was an assignment to take a virtual trip on a pilgrimage to the Hajj. Have you guys heard about that?
That's nice.
Come on! With Jerusalem as one of the Arab cities, one of the Islamic cities.
Never.
Come on, Newton. This is our town. It's our city. Yes. Let's take it back.
Awesome job, Judy. Good job, Judy.
say is 1000% correct. Look, my friends, what we have to do, and let's be very clear, we've got to take our schools back, we've got to take our city back, we've got to take our state back, and we've got to take our country back. So, my friends, before we close, I just want to mention a few quick things, and then I want to invite Margot to end this wonderful rally together. Number one, please, I'm urging all of you, tomorrow at about 11 o'clock in the morning, go to wrko.com/Kuhner, K-U-H-N-E-R. You will see my column up there, Indoctrinating Public Schools with Islam and Hate. And we're going to have it up. Please read it, send it around on social media. We have to get the truth out there. Secondly, this is a gem. I read this over the weekend, and I got to tell you, it was one of my key sources of research for my column. It's called Indoctrinating Our Youth, How a U.S. Public School Curriculum, i.e. Newton, skews the Arab-Israeli conflict and Islam. It blows the entire whistle on the Islamization of our kids, the indoctrination of our children, and the rabid anti-Semitism and anti-Americanism that has been allowed to fester under the watch of David Fleischman and Ruth Goldman. So please, all of you, go online if you can, download it and read it. It's going to send chills down your spine.
Where is it?
Camera.org. I don't want to plug Amazon because it goes to Jeff Bezos, so I don't want. So camera, literally like a camera, you know, click, click. Camera.org. Just go to camera.org and it's right there. It's free. It's right there.
It's $10.
It's, or is it $10?
$10.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was free.
I think it's
Okay.
$10.
It was free for me. I'm sorry. it's $10, but believe me, it's worth every penny. Okay.
It used to be 20.
Yeah.
300 grand, right?
Well, David Fleischman, if he was half a man, would come out here and say, let me buy, with my $300,000, let me buy a few hundred copies and give it around to the president.
July. Him and Baldwin were going to come, but they got stuck in the revolving door looking for the doorknob.
Okay, so my friends, please, I want to have Margot Einstein, and I've got to ask her this question. You know, I'm doing all this research, and I go, oh, Margot Einstein. Oh, that Margot. And I'm thinking, any relation to Albert Einstein? No?
He was my son.
He was your son. Margot, please, come on up. I really want to congratulate you. Is this woman a warrior, or is this woman a warrior? I want to congratulate you for your courage, for your bravery, your patriotism, your civic engagement, your love of the Newton school system, of Newton and of America.
And Israel.
And Israel, yes, and Israel. Always with Israel. Margot, you're a true inspiration to all of us. And it is people like you that made America great. And it is people like you that will make us great again. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. This is for you.
Love you, Margot.
God bless you. Okay, thank you, thank you.
Jeff, those words from you are inspirational, and I thank you with all my heart. You are a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful man. Let's give a cheer for Jeff. And here's the chant. Here's the chant. What's this rally all about? Fleischman fired, Goldman out. Here we go. What's this rally all about? Fleischman fired, Goldman out. What's this rally all about? Fleischman fired, Goldman out.
Thank you all for coming. We really appreciate appreciated?
It's a matter of liberty and freedom of speech. It's a matter of when somebody lies and plagiarizes, you've got to do something about it. You can't just let it go. When people plagiarize and when they don't take their responsibilities for young people, when they set a bad example, it's our duty. It's our duty to actually confront them. That's what we're doing. We're confronting. Instead of just sitting home and saying, oh, why are they so bad? What's happening? We're doing something. This is the greatest nation on earth. The greatest. It's the last great hope of mankind. And if people are doing bad things for children, then it won't be the greatest hope for mankind or womankind either.
This is our future, ladies and gentlemen, the future of the United States of America, the future of our constitutional republic hangs in the balance. Because if we continue on the course that we are, where 32% of our children, of the millennials, voted for an avowed socialist to be the president of the United States, how does that happen? But that our children were prepared and indoctrinated ahead of time. And it didn't just happen in college. It goes all the way back to the schoolyard, to elementary, middle, and high schools. And if we are going to save this country, it's going to be through the next generation. And that's why your support is so important. That's why becoming a PJTN Watchman is so important. And I want to encourage you again, we need 5,000 $20 a month PJTN Watchmen to help us every month to be able to get this message out, to be able to travel to communities like Newton and like South Florida and North Carolina and Ohio and Colorado and continue our battle here even in Tennessee and in Texas, all over this country. We need your financial support. I cannot do this apart from you. But then after you commit financially, then we need you to help. We need you to sign up, to go to attend the school board meetings in your local district, because people ask me all the time, it's too big. The problem is too great, but it's not. If we bind together as a community and commit to ourselves, to one another, that we will fight this battle together. We will stand. Because one of the things that that deeply saddens me is that there were people, men and some women, who gave their lives, spilled their blood on foreign soil to protect our constitutional republic. They were willing to die. What is our generation willing to do? Too often I hear people say, I don't have time, I'm too tired, I've got too much on my plate. How can we not be involved? What we do in our generation, what we do today, will affect our children and our children's children and our children's children's children. The function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. That was said by none other than Martin Luther King Jr. What wisdom that man had. And so I want to, again, just wrap up the program this evening. I want to thank you again for joining us. Tune in next week. We'll be here. And we look forward to hearing from you. Again, go to pjtn.org. Sign up to become a monthly PJTN Watchman, just $20 a month. And you can help us get this message out to more Christians around the globe. 2.6 billion. That's a lot. So God bless you. Thank you so much for all you do on behalf of our Jewish brethren and the state of Israel. We'll see you next week on PJTN Online.
To support this program, send your tax-deductible gift to Proclaiming Justice to the Nations, P.O. Box 682711, Franklin, Tennessee 37068. You can also support PJTN online. Visit pjtn.org or call 1-877-873-9020.
Anti-Semitism has reached epic proportions, and Israel is now surrounded by nations who seek its destruction. For Israel to lose just one battle would mean losing everything. As Christians, it is our biblical responsibility to stand with our Jewish brethren and Israel. PJTN needs your help to reach more Christians with this urgent message. Please visit our website to become a member today and order our award-winning documentaries. You must decide that you won't be silent. Sign up now at pjtn.org. God bless you and thank you for your support and prayers.